Hey guys, this is LSuperSonicQ here, and today we're going to take a look at all of my Yoshi sculptures. So this video is kind of a little bit bigger than it was supposed to be, because at first I'm like, well, I could do a Then and Now series on some of them, but I've done apparently so many Yoshis, because I was looking at my clay table and I'm like, wow, there were so many Yoshis on there that I decided just to put them all together in one epic Yoshi video, because there's really no consistency between, like, the earlier ones and like the later ones. As I explained through the video, um, some of them are like really good, some of them aren't so good, and there's no rhyme or reason to why they're good or not, like the sculpt. So let's start with the oldest. This is going to go in chronological order. So the oldest one is this, and this was my first Yoshi. I probably did this one way back in 2004, 2005 with the first Mario and the first Luigi. And for a first from back in the day, I kind of expect, this quality. It's pretty like blotchy all over. The face is like Yoshi, but it's not super accurate. He's missing the scales on the back of his head. Like, they're inaccuracies, but I can tell that it was a legit effort at trying to sculpt a Yoshi. This base was added on after, which is kind of why it's so unfitting and awkward. But he obviously didn't stand, and I wanted him to stand. So the shell's really small as well, and like I said, just the arms, they're just like noodles with little circles on the end. It's a good try, like I said, I can tell, but obviously there's much to be improved. And like, his mouth is here, and Yoshi's mouth is kind of supposed to be like three-dimensional over here, and instead it's just flat over here. It doesn't really make any sense. But so there you go, first Yoshi from 2004, 2005. And kind of to go along with him, these two were also made around the same time. There's a purple and a yellow. The shoes are wrong because they're not the right color, but they're pretty much done in the same way, the same style. So I would say maybe this one's a little bit more accurate than this one, because this one's kind of like has like a circular face, and this one, at least the eyes are kind of, in the right shape. So, and the shells are also orange instead of red. But there you go. So like I said, these were made all around the same time, and I think I did make a blue one. Well, I guess that would be a good segue into this. So I made a blue one that looked similar to this, that would go along with these guys. However, I'm not really sure where he is. So just kind of shout out to him. There was a blue Yoshi that looked more like this. But I would say this is kind of the next point in the Yoshis. So, kind of stepping off from that blue one, like I said, is kind of, I guess, where I got into this habit of, like, I had a way of sculpting Yoshi, and it kind of, like, looked like this. Like, I was so sure of myself that I'm like, well, let's just throw this clay together, and, like, this is how Yoshi is. Without really, paying as close attention to when I first tried to sculpt him. So yeah, he's really short. I could argue the hands are maybe a little bit better, but the proportion is what's really bugging me with this one. Like, at least the proportion was good for those ones. This one, the proportion's not so good, but he does have details, though, because he has the scales over here, and the eyes are a little bit more accurate because they're actually, a little bit higher on his head. His shoes are like the right color and stuff. His shell is kind of, not exactly a shell. It's kind of just lining his back, but it's a little bit better in terms of detail. And kind of to go along with him was this one. So this one is better than that one, and it takes some features from the first few, but there's still a lot to be desired. This one doesn't even have any legs. It's just kind of like shoes, just like pushed on. His arms, I'm surprised these are even still intact, because they were super thin. And his nostrils and eyes are blue, because I guess I didn't have any black. He does have his scales, though. The shell's looking better, but he almost doesn't even have a tail on this one. And of course, like, the yellow from his stomach doesn't, or the white from his stomach doesn't, wrap around to the back. I don't think that happened in any of these. No, it was too early on for me to include that detail. So another small little Chibi Yoshi. So, kind of going along with those, I can tell this sculpt is pretty similar to these ones. This was supposed to be part of my Jumbo Mario Sunshine set that only had Mario in it. And this was the Yoshi. I don't think I got too much farther than this. You can see there's some evidence of, like, back spikes and stuff. And I think there was half of a body. But this is kind of the bulk of it. And I wasn't even going to show this because I'm like, well, it's an incomplete model. But I figure, it does kind of go along with this era over here. And it actually is an improvement, I would say, from these two. The eyes are looking pretty good. The proportion on the head is pretty good. I like this for what it is. It's not a bad looking Yoshi. And I would say if this was 2004, 2005, this is probably like 2006, 2007 maybe. which actually would be pretty accurate because the next kind of time frame is this. This would be like 2008, 2009 or so, and this is the Yoshi from the Mario Baseball set that actually does have its own in-depth series episode, but I wanted to include it here because obviously Yoshi. So the sculpt, to jump from this, I don't think I'm forgetting any in between this one and this one. So the jump from, that to this is pretty exponential because the body is actually really good. The proportion is right. He has the details. The only oddity is that he's holding a bat, so, maybe stuff was thrown off a bit because it was specifically for the Mario Baseball set. Like, his shoes could be better, but I can tell that I just wanted him to stand up because I was supposed to use this as a little, like, baseball player, so obviously detail is lacking to some degree, but, like the arms, too, those are just kind of put on there just so he could hold the bat without really including a lot of detail. But I could tell this is a pretty solid looking Yoshi, and like I said, the jump is kind of speaks for itself. I'm happy with how this looks, especially compared to some of the older Yoshis, from back in the day. So kind of this is, I guess, we're continuing on with this generation, is these two-dimensional Yoshis, and they're from a Mario chess set that I made, which I often say I created the idea for Mario chess set before the actual chess set was released. And I guess, again, they're kind of an oddity because they're flat 2 dimensions and, they look different than all these other Yoshis because, they're so specific. But they do look pretty good. I mean, I do like how they look. They're pretty accurate for, being 2D characters. So I guess there's not much to say. I think Yoshi here was the Rook, I believe, because I think there's only 2 of them. So, not bad looking. And, if anything, the proportion is definitely right on these. Even though this one is, like, smaller or whatever, the proportion is still right, so. Put these ones over here. Now, the next one, this was like, so this is kind of where the weird part comes in, because this was like 2008, 2009 or something. To my knowledge, I don't think I sculpted any Yoshis between like then and this one, which is the clay tutorial from 2012. So that's a huge jump, but there was a lot of characters, now that I look back on it, that didn't have a lot of sculpts between that time frame, like late 2000s, early 2010s. So I guess maybe that's correct. So here's a Yoshi for, again, not sculpting Yoshis for tons of time in between. That's looking pretty good. I do kind of want to remake this tutorial because he's easy enough to remake, and I feel like I could do a little bit better because there's been some details about this that always bug me. Like, the legs are kind of awkward. Like, I don't really know what was happening here. They're, like, really long and extended, and that's not really accurate. And I know I was running out of green clay when I made this, so that's why the arms are really tiny. But it just kind of bothers me because the chest is so big. Maybe I could have taken some clay from the chest and put it into the arms, The face is pretty good, though. I like how this looks. Maybe the eyes could have been a little bit better. Just because this is a tutorial, I'm kind of nitpicking here. But, like I said, the eyes could be a little, like... It looks like he's closing his eyes too much, and it should have been open a little bit more. But he does have his scales. The shell's pretty good. It actually wraps around the body, which I think is a first, right now. And that's pretty good, so... Clay tutorial, Yoshi. I guess we'll start... I know he's not going to stand. All right, I guess we'll start a new section right here. So the next one, that was 2012. This is 2013, and this is the Super Mario 64 Yoshi. I'm actually surprised with how large he is. When I picked him up off my clay table, I'm like, wow, he's pretty big. And he's not too bad looking either. I guess, at this time I was really using artwork. I think I started using artwork in like early 2010s, maybe late 2000s. But I remember when I made him, I was really into the artwork. So... despite saying that, I have to say his eyes should be connected as one solid piece. Instead, there's like, you can see it's 2 separate eyes, but it should really be like kind of like one eye together. If you guys know the artwork, you'll know what I mean. But other than that, he looks pretty good, except he is missing a back spike. But other than that, he is looking pretty good because the shell is correct, and he does have, the white all the way down here, which the tutorial did too, but he was part of Clay Models 9, and Clay Models 9 was really rushed and really weird, so I'm surprised I included that detail. And the shoes are correct, and the proportion's pretty good. The arms might be a little long, but it is a solid-looking Yoshi. I like how I got kind of this nose area. It's rather large, which is good. I think it's very accurate. So this is a pretty good looking model. I do like him. And he does kind of go very fittingly with the inconsistencies that my original Mario 64 Mario has. So together they're not bad. So the next one was in 2014, and it's this guy. So the jump is huge. You know, I mean, I guess this is kind of the same era. I guess if we're going 3, 3, 3, it might as well be 3. So this is a huge painted black Yoshi from Yoshi's Story that was seen in Video Game Clay Figure Models 10. So yeah, 2014. This would have been a year later. And this is probably my best Yoshi, definitely the largest Yoshi, and maybe my favorite. Maybe it's a bit biased because he's painted and all nice and stuff, but anyway, let's take a look at him. So, obviously because he's painted and stuff, I wanted an immense amount of detail on him and stuff, so the face is just ridiculously accurate. The way that the eyes are open with, you know, where his, you know, kind of, where his eyelids come into the eye, I think it just looks really good. It's balanced, you know, and the nose is perfectly proportioned. This paint, it's perfect. The scale, I can't even like really explain this very accurately, just because you're looking at it, like I don't even know what to say. Like just looking at it, you got to look at it, and like all you got to do is look, and you know exactly what I'm talking about here. The shell is also more like a circle, and it's kind of like raised because back, you know, in Yoshi's Story, that's what it was. And you know, good proportion, pretty good shoes. Maybe they should be a little bit bigger on the end, but the arms are looking great. Very, you know, true to the artwork. You know, obviously the white goes all the way around. The eyes even have some little coloring in them. There's some blue and, of course, a little white dot. So overall, it's just a really solid looking Yoshi. I kind of butchered when I was describing the face, but I think just looking at it, it's just, you know, if you look at the artwork and then look at this, it just is really accurate. And sorry if I'm kind of tooting my own horn, but I mean, like, out of everything I've shown so far, and even the stuff that I have yet to show, I just think this is the best Yoshi that I've made. So I just kind of got to give it the praise it deserves. Maybe we can move some of these guys over a little bit. I kind of widened the camera for a reason. So then these guys can go here. Sure, that'll work. So then the next generation, I would say, starts with the Nintendo Generation set in 2015. So this is the Yoshi that goes to that set from Yoshi's Story again. And this was part of Video Game Clay Figure Models 11, this guy. Kind of similar to this one because they were sculpted, you know, back to back, and I kind of went along the same premise. In fact, he was going to be black originally, but I'm like, well, I already have a black one, and white's another kind of obscure color. So I would say pretty much everything about that black Yoshi is put into this one in terms of like the detail on like the face and stuff, and the proportion, and you know, the back spines and the shell being a circle, because you know, this was from Yoshi's Story again. The only thing is, though, I would say because it's a smaller model and more chibi looking, this one is still better looking overall, because again, like I said, this is like a downsized version. But still, he's really good. I like how he looks. Very accurate, especially compared to, you know, these other Yoshis from way back then, where even though they'd be small, they wouldn't be accurate. This one's small and still looking pretty accurate. So his shoes are light blue, so that's pretty cool. And he even has the coloring on the bottom. This Yoshi did too, actually. So. Next is the Yoshi from the Super Smash Bros. Melee minifigure set, and I guess this would be a good time to kind of interject the whole inconsistency. While obviously the quality has gone up from the very first one, like, I don't know, I wasn't too happy with, like, the tutorial one, and then, you know, the 64 one is kind of inaccurate. Then we had a really good looking, you know, black Yoshi. Then, you know, the white one is looking okay. And then this one looks almost so much better than all the others, debatably the painted one. But, like, I use the Melee artwork so precisely and so specifically, and he's also small. So he kind of contradicts all these other small models, too, of, you know, being inaccurate. Like, it's just such a weird kind of thing looking at all my sculptures, just knowing how I sculpted them and stuff, and, you know, kind of the way that they are. But you're kind of supposed to look at him from, like, this angle or so, because like the artwork, he's at like this angle. But I just think it's really, really good, especially for such a small model. He has, you know, all his little detail, I guess, but like the shell is looking good, and his spikes are correct. They're not all the way up on his head because the spikes in Melee are further down. Proportion is perfect. Maybe the proportion on this one is better than the black one. I don't even know. But it's just a really, really good looking Yoshi. So, there's that one. And, I guess this one would kind of go along with these guys, just to keep it in sets of 3. So he actually doesn't have any limbs. This is the Super Mario RPG Yoshi, which is seen in Clay Models 12. The segment for this guy, where you can check him out, premiered a month or so ago, and he actually lost all his limbs because he fell over, everything broke. I tried to repair him multiple times. I tried to get him ready for this video. Didn't work out, so unfortunately I have to repair him when I get more clay. I didn't have the clay around. But I wanted to show him because the limbs are kind of not important. It's kind of the face. This is a really good looking face. I kind of just praised the Smash Bros. Melee Yoshi, but this is a really good looking face right here. Probably the most accurate Mario RPG model I ever made. And I guess between like these 3, it's really a toss-up with which one is the best. And like I said, that's why it's so inconsistent. I guess it did kind of improve from 2014, 2015, 2016. But I don't know, we got like, you know, the jump from this one to the black one, and then we got kind of the white one thrown in there, kind of to mix things up. It's just weird. So, take a close look at the face. Really close to the artwork's likeness. We got like a big nose, you know, the round cheeks. The eyes are looking really good too. Maybe the pupils could have been a little bigger, but it's okay. The spikes in their correct spots. The shell being more like a saddle, which is correct for the time. And even when he was standing up and stuff, it was a good looking model. It looked pretty dang close to the artwork. So really good looking Yoshi. And oh, and his mouth is down here like it should be, you know. I mean, it has been for, you know, these models and stuff, but just noticeably, I remember sculpting this with that in mind, that detail in mind. So, and now we get to kind of, it's still 2016, but it's kind of a new, I guess, generation or so. Anyway, so this one is a Yoshi that I actually made. I think I started back in 2014 or 2015. But he had to go through some repairs and stuff, and I actually got him all ready for the Comic-Con that I went to. You know, I had a booth and I sold some clay figures. I got him ready for that back in April. So he's kind of a little bit of an outlier because, you know, he's kind of had a weird history and stuff. And, you know, this is a model that I'm selling, and usually I don't include those in videos where I have stuff that I just made for myself because usually the quality differs. But I decided, you know, let's throw these ones in here because I don't think they're all ever going to be together again because I'm going to another convention and he might be sold or whatever. But anyway, I just want to put him in here for the sake of the video. And he's looking pretty good. Oh, like I said, this is what the face should look like. This. There's like no space in between the eyes on this one, and that's where this one got it wrong. But otherwise, again, correct spikes. Oh, and he does have a second spike there. The shell, the legs, everything. It's pretty good looking. And at first, I was a little bit worried when I made him because I'm like, well, he's really tall now. I didn't really mean to make him that tall, but it was a happy accident because I forgot how tall he was in Mario 64. He's really tall. So he actually turned out more accurate by accident. So there you go. And then just recently, I did these ones for the Arts Fest that's coming up in a couple weeks. I did these ones and I want to show them off here. Yoshi's Island styled Yoshi based off of the plush, actually, the Japanese plush. So like I said, kind of a new generation, I guess. So I guess this one may be over here. So nice looking face, you know, with the big eyes and stuff. The little pupils, got smaller spikes back here. His shoes, you know, correct proportion. The plushes didn't really have any fingers, so I kind of kept that true to the plush. I wanted to kind of have that little like chibi feel. Of course, the shell being a saddle still. He's got, you know, the underneath of his shoes, which you can actually see because it's raised, and of course the little mouth overhang, which I made note of, that should be on the Yoshis. And it's just a good looking Yoshi, very solid 2016 piece. And I kind of cloned him quite a bit, so we got a blue version. You know, all the same details and stuff. Of course, they look a little bit different in the face because I can't completely copy it every single time, but got a purple version. And finally, a red version. Of course, their shoes are correct, so there you go. There is the complete look at all my Yoshi clay figures. I'm kind of trying to get them all in the shot. Kind of all grouped together there. Alright, cool. So, I think this is probably as good as we're going to get it. Get this guy in the frame. These guys are never going to probably be all together again because I'm guessing these are going to sell. And probably the Mario 64 one too. So, here we go, the collective Yoshi shot. Thanks for watching, guys. This is probably a pretty long episode of the In-Depth series, but I guess I had a lot of Yoshis and there's a lot to say about them, and it was just kind of weird looking at all of them because it's such a big history, and I didn't even think I made this many Yoshis. I never would have guessed I made this many Yoshis if I didn't really look today at all my different sets and stuff. So thanks for watching, guys. As always, I'm LSuperSonicQ, and until the next video, Finn.